We're sitting in front of one of the most distinctive looking pieces of equipment I've seen at this show, which is your first product under your own name anyway. This is a passive EQ, as I understand.
Yeah, it's a six-band passive EQ, and I'm Chief Tech at Shadow Hills Industries, and I've been working with Peter for almost about 7 years now. We haven't come out with any new products in the last 2 or 3. We've been doing some custom work for some top-name folks. We have a couple new things that are major under wraps that'll be some real game changers. But this has been something I've worked on for over 5 years myself. I just wanted really a kind of a collection of some great EQs that I wanted on 2-mix and mastering without having to buy 2 or 4 units and getting too many transformers and sounds in the final stage. So put it all in one box and just make it sound great and easy to use too. So.
Cool, so obviously when we hear the words passive EQ, we think Pultec.
Yes.
Is this sort of a Pultec-based design then?
Yeah, part of it actually is. You know, it's one thing that I like to do. Can I show you a little bit of what's going on here?
Absolutely, yes.
Sweet. So I always love, one of my favorite low filters are the Pultec low filters. I wanted the ability to, instead of having the gain controls for what you're boosting and cutting, to be able to split them out so you could do some really cool sculpting ends on the low end. You could boost some low mids and then just cut the very subs, or the other way around, you could boost just the lows and then create a kind of a valley trough in your low mids that are so important for mastering. So these are Pultecs that are expanded and separated as well. The high-end treble boost is also very much close to a Pultec EQ. I use the MPP soft powder core inductors, so they're very mellow sounding. You could boost them a lot and get that color without any peakiness. You get a couple more stops and filters that go all the way up to 18K, but also I wanted to add a shelf function too, so that way you're not just on a bell, you can have a shelf too. Of course, add a nice high cut that goes even supersonic to air 22K and all the way down to 5. I really like the very broad, gentle slopes of the Neumann PEV boost EQs, so I have appropriated those favorite frequencies along with a lot of others on a big broad boost there. Great for translation for phones and things, but it's just very lively as well. And then the cut control is actually a slight hybrid. It's passive and active. With just the passive, it was just a little too dry and not quite as vibrant as I needed for when you're taking out especially low mids or something in critical vocal frequencies. So having that be a hybrid passive in the active feedback loop keeps it just like really hi-fi with clarity and exciting too. So, yeah.
Wow, so clearly this is a product that's been thought about by someone who, it's like this is your ideal mix EQ and your ideal mastering EQ.
Definitely, and something that's also not too dry sounding, that also just has the vivid and coloredness from, Peter was my mentor and I've been working with him in a long time, so I take a lot of credit for him too, so it's great.
So something like this is the reason we use analog, is for this kind of thing?
That's exactly right, you can't really model it, there's some voodoo in there, yeah.
Yeah, sure. And is it a valve makeup stage?
It's a transistor makeup stage. I don't use a very sophisticated amplifier, it's more around 1972 design, minimal current sourcing, so but it still is very clean and wonderful. It doesn't need a lot of bandwidth compensation around a very high gain, confusing amplifier in a weird way. Keeping it simple means I don't have to wrap too much around the feedback loop, so it's more pure and a little bit more tube and valve-like because of that. A little less negative feedback is needed. That's kind of what I heard.
Wow, well it looks amazing. I mean, and tell us a little bit about your front panel design, because this obviously isn't intended for those of us who like to mix with our eyes.
That's true, and that's kind of part of it too. Every time that sometimes I get too cerebral, or a lot of us do, if we are using our eyes too much, it could mislead us away from what we need to connect with the music. I mean, there's lots of pole pieces and lots of frequencies that we would have to select from. It would be very cluttered if I put them all on. A lot of times it's good to know what you need to adjust and to just sit up, kind of look at the speakers or close your eyes, sweep it, feel where you are, and then, the recall sheet has the list, and then you could write it down what you got. That's about it.
Awesome. So is this available to buy now?
Available to buy now. I make 2 versions. I make a fully stepped version for mastering, and I make a non-step version, which saves a lot of money for people who mainly want to mix and don't need the recall function, but mainly the stepped one is what everybody really digs. Oh, I have one last thing to mention. It's true bypass in and out, and then I have the ability to run it single-ended or with transformers. So if you need the transformers to get out of the way, and you need to keep it real clean and punchy, you could do that too. Let your compressor do the magic, right?
Wow, cool. So if I wanted to buy one of these, how much is it going to cost me?
It's $4,600 for the fully stepped, and $3,200 for the non-stepped. It's all Elma switches in, so I use premium parts, and it's direct through me at the moment, so just find me, and that's all right.
Wow, well thanks very much, Marshall. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for talking, glad you love it.
It's a pleasure.
Sweet, bye.